I do believe those that are pivoting right now and during this time, and I've told a lot of people this, is that there's a lot of great opportunities, right? A lot of great opportunities. And whatever you're doing, just don't stand still, right? And I think as you look at the landscape, you study to see how things are just going digital and it's being accelerated at a rapid rate. This was coming regardless, but then now we're being forced into it. And as a business, you need to look at the opportunities that present themselves, because people are still spending money, people are still working, people are still looking for jobs. And those that come in and find ways to make life easier in this digital world are the ones that are going to succeed.
Welcome to the Networking with Michelle podcast, the show dedicated to providing you with life strategies with a little bit of entrepreneur advice. Here we believe in the Jim Rohn quote, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Hey everyone, welcome to the Networking with Michelle show. I'm your host, Michelle Gomez, and this is a bonus episode of Perspective of Black Lives. And today my special guest is Seun Phillips of My Dream Big Club. And I decided to make this as a bonus episode because when I got the email, as soon as I saw the name My Dream Big Club, I knew this was the perfect way to end this series, Perspective of Black Lives. And we discuss entrepreneurship, starting a business, pivoting a business during a pandemic, and of course, his story on how him and his wife were able to grow their group. And I think you will be inspired by it, the story. So without further ado, Seun Phillips. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Networking with Michelle show. Today's special guest is Seun Phillips with My Dream Big Club. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Michelle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I am in love with your name, My Dream Big Club.
Thank you.
As I was stating, I've been doing a 10-episode series on Perspective of Black Lives. And when I went to your website, I was like, this is a good way to end the show of leaving us with some hope, some aspirations, and talking about entrepreneurship. So thanks for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having them.
So how did you get started?
So my wife and we first started My Dream Big Club because we just wanted to convene a group of friends together, right? So we all have like hey, let's come together and talk about big dreams, right? And it's always like that idea. But then, we actually did it at our house, and, a group of, I believe the first meeting was like 12 of us. And we talked about, what does it mean to dream big? And then from that meeting, we had other people within the room that were interested in also leading a meeting. And then it quickly grew from 15, 25, 45 plus. And then it led us to move from the home into libraries that had more space. And then we did our first conference with over 160 people last year. So it's just great to see it grow and to see the great support.
Wow. And y'all started in 2018?
2018, correct.
Wow. So yeah, that is definitely rapid growth. And how did you, I guess, if you go back to childhood memory, what was your first big dream or your first big goal? Because I think we all have those moments and then life happens.
Yeah. Life definitely happens. So my first big dream was I wanted to play in the NBA, right? And when I was younger, I was actually pretty good for my age group. But when you're when you're 10 years old, right, what does that mean? And then I remember telling my dad, and he kind of chuckled when I told him I wanted to be in the NBA. And, to be honest, I was just like, whoa, like, what's so funny? But then I guess what he was trying to do, too, is like, hey, have these big dreams, but then also, what's the plan, right? I mean, we know the statistics with the NBA and how many people make it. And, I think I always tell, because I used to, teach as well with my first company. And I always tell students, like, it's okay to have those dreams, but essentially, what can you do that's also more controllable, right? Or, education being the equalizer. My parents were very keen on that. And, math and science happened to be my strong subjects and strong suit leading into engineering. But, with the MBA dream, it was just the fact that I was good at basketball. I loved watching basketball. And that was the ultimate big dream, was to get into the league.
Yeah. So I think right now we're in a time where entrepreneurship is sexy, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, how do we distinguish between, I believe corporate America is hard. I also think entrepreneurship is hard. It's just two different
right.
pathways. So how do we distinguish having big dreams when it comes to pursuing a business? Like, can I really do this?
Yeah. I believe that we all have these amazing skill sets within us, right? And you can call them skill sets, you can call them hobbies. A lot of things we do that we're good at that's just natural. We are capable of even turning that into a business. And essentially, as we're in work, in our workplace, which is also building many of our skill sets, the things that we're doing, we can translate that into, if I'm good at marketing and I do it on the side, and before I know it, I get that, that first customer, right? And that first customer turns into 2, turns into 4, and it continues to duplicate. And I think that's what entrepreneurship is about. It's about the ability for us to really think about, like, what is it that I'm good at? And what is it that I like to do? And how can I potentially turn this into a business? And then the second element of that is just a matter of, why don't you sometimes, as you're thinking about it, for whatever reason, you have the fear of not pursuing it. But then if you're able to just take that first step and to just say you did it, and, that also does a lot for someone to know that, hey, instead of me having this fear, I went ahead and just pushed through it and I gave it a try, right? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but ultimately you have to put your best foot forward.
Absolutely. I've been talking to a friend lately, and I think this is the best time to start a business. I know we're in the pandemic, and my reason for that is because, technically society is at nothing right now, right? So you are scrappy. You're going to be resourceful. I think that's the case in general, but the pandemic adds an extra layer to it. So what do you think? Because I know someone's concerned about the timing, money, resources, especially now they're giving out loans and grants, but you have to be an established business. What are maybe the first 3 steps you would encourage a new entrepreneur right now?
Yeah. So we actually have first 2 steps on our website that we're really pushing. But I think the first step is to just think about, what is it that you want to do, right? So you think about it like, this is what I'm focused on. This is what this is my services. These are my skill sets. And that's what I'm going to do. That's step 1. Step 2 is that you need to just go out and just build like a basic service like offering, right? So first I know what I want to do. And then now I'm, whether if you're trying consultation for free in the beginning, or whether you're like, hey, $10 or $50, whatever it may be, what does that throughput and what does success look like, right? Just off the bat, just that one, just focus on one. And then once you get that one, I think the third step is around pushing it out, right? So then now you have like this simple package. Let's see if people like it. Let's see what type of response we're getting. And then now you market it, whether it's in social media, whether it's telling your friends. I mean, it's good to start with people that you know, but then, everyone, especially because they like you, love you, they'll say, oh, great idea, but will you pay for it, right? And I think you use them as a way to prove the model and to be able to create that concept of like, this is the package that works. But then at the end of the day, if you're really trying to turn this into a business, you need some sort of, revenue coming in, right? And that's when the true throughput of, okay, I could turn this into a business. And I think that first sale is extremely, extremely important, because 1, it validates what you're doing. And then 2, if you did it once, you could do it twice. And then that's how you continue to grow.
Yeah, that first sale can give you so much confidence.
Big time. It's a game changer. to get like, oh wait, someone paid me? Someone paid me for this? Big time.
What about those businesses that are pivoting? Maybe they're struggling during this moment. Unfortunately, I've had a colleague who has been in business several years, maybe 10 plus years, has done a lot of workshops, one-on-one trainings, and having a hard time catching up to this digital landscape of putting content on, these digital platforms. Do you think there's a difference when it comes to making pivots in business versus launching?
I think there's a difference in, if I'm a very first time entrepreneur, one, it could be kind of scared and I'm just starting learning the ropes on what exactly entrepreneurship is about. But in the pivot, you still have the need to be creative in what you're doing. And in a way, at times you're starting a new business or a new vertical, and I do believe those that are pivoting right now and during this time, and I've told a lot of people this, is that there's a lot of great opportunities, right? A lot of great opportunities, and whatever you're doing, just don't stand still, right? And I think as you look at the landscape, you study to see how things are just going digital and it's being accelerated at a rapid rate. This was coming regardless, but then now we're being forced into it. And as a business, you need to look at the opportunities that present themselves, because people are still spending money, people are still working, people are still looking for jobs. And those that come in and find ways to make life easier in this digital world are the ones that are going to succeed. And things will get better eventually. And for us, it's important that we, one, take care of ourselves. Mental health is very important. But then two, look at, as we mentioned, our skill sets. What is it that we can do? How can I support? What are people looking for during this time that I can potentially find a way in segmentation into?
Yeah. Going back to when you were creating My Dream Big Club, and obviously you had your wife and there was conversation. It's like, yeah, let's do this.
Right.
And I guess when you were gathering with your friends, was there that light bulb, aha? Like how many meetings had went by, or what was that phase look like?
Yeah. But the one thing I like to push out to show some of my vulnerabilities is, at times I can try to, I'm an engineer at heart, and I try to make sure all the pieces are straight and try to, what about this? What about that? I think my wife's a little better and just like, hey, like, come on, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. And I've gotten a lot better throughout the days. And even as I listen to my different podcast interviews, I'm like, oh, okay, that's true. I should do that too. And I mentioned that because as we just first started, it really wasn't like, let's flip this into a business. It really was, let's just come together. And I think that's important to say, because as we just bring people together, you start to think about other ideas and you start to hear commonalities in what people are asking for. We should do this, or I really liked how we had a meeting and it focused on financial empowerment and investment. So then now you think about like, okay, these are the meetings that they like. And now that's how we turned it into a conference, because we looked at our sessions and we said that, well, these were well attended and people are doing surveys that they really want to hear more about imposter syndrome, building relationships, how to make money just in general. And that's where the conference came. And then now during this time, we're doing virtual meetings where we're opening up our doors to different countries, right? Granted, it's wonderful to do physical meetings, and we will get back to that. But it's also wonderful to know that people in Nigeria and Ireland and Denmark and Germany are listening to us and participating in some of our meetings.
Absolutely. That's awesome. How important is community, especially right now with social distancing and, things are pretty limited. They're not completely normal, back to normal, or this new normal. So how important is community?
Community is extremely important because one is I think a lot of times, even though, we've had past success, we still need that community to help to kind of push us forward. And also, no matter where you are on the spectrum of starting, building community is a sense of, one is a sense of belonging and a sense of ultimate support. You don't get to where you are if you're doing big things, right, by yourself. And I think, as you know, one of the structures is, as we build community, there's different people in different stages. And part of that is, if you have a successful business and you're flourishing, there's someone that is just starting that you can pull up, right? There's someone that you can mentor. If you're just starting, right, vice versa, right, you're looking to see, hey, who can support me in what I'm doing? And I think one of the key goals for us as well is that, as you build this community of entrepreneurs, how great is it that we can support one another, right? So we all have our business endeavors, but we are able to support each other by rendering services. And at the same time, it's, one, we're building our business, but then two, you're also helping somebody in building the business. So you could just imagine that you have these, vetted companies, vetted services, and the ability to grow with some great people supporting you. So it's extremely important.
I know I mentioned community because it's, I guess, a micro level. Has mentorship played a role in your success?
Yeah, it's played a role, and I'll be completely honest that I could do a better job. Right, I've had some, I guess, older friends that have really guided me in career as well as family as well, and I'm a firm believer in mentorship, and that's one of the things that personally I want to do a better job in. And the times that I've had people to guide me, it's shown that you're not wasting as much time trying to figure out where to go, what to do, and I've been able to reverse that in mentoring others. And as I do that, I'm just like, Seun, you really have to spend more time finding that right mentor, because the advice you just gave someone that is in college, right? They found it valuable. So just imagine like how you could do it the reverse way.
That's a good point. I think one thing I like that you mentioned was finding mentors or even communities in different aspects of your life, right? Whether it's entrepreneurship, career, versus, or in addition to marriage, family, and finding that, because life is crazy, but finding that balance.
Yeah. I mean, the balance and people that have experienced it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, for example, I could take this to I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and my 5-year-old has experienced more than the 2-year-old. And, I mean, I break it down very basically like that, because that is the truth. She has 3 additional years than this 2-year-old. And you can see the 2-year-old following her and advancing quicker because he sees what his older sister's doing, right? And that's the difference, because she knows it. And he knows to follow her. And whatever happens in our lifestyle, that we forget of how important that connection is to finding people that are more seasoned, that are going to direct us along the path. It's crucial in the advancement and the acceleration of the things that we're doing in life.
That's a beautiful point. Comparing it to kids that have no worries.
No worries at all. Right? Eat, sleep, and feed me more.
Okay. So you mentioned, obviously your community's grown. So you had a conference last year. You had Gwen speak at the conference. She is a powerhouse. I admire her so much. Can you just talk about the conference a little bit more, and if you have any plans for this year, if it's going to be a virtual conference?
Yeah, so the conference was titled Channel Your Inner Excellence. And literally what the title states is what we were doing, is that we wanted people to come together. You could be working a full-time job. You could be an entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur. But everyone in that room, you need to channel your inner excellence. And that means taking a step up. And we took people through a journey where we first opened it up, and we really let people know that, hey, this is what it means to dream big, right? And as people are at the conference, they're like, all right, man, well, that's cool. But, you start thinking in your head, but this, that, and the other, and I can't do this because of, all my past. So then we take people through that journey of, someone that has overcome adversity. And then as you listen to it, you're like, okay, well, she overcome adversity, but, what about my situation? So then now you take people through those that have been successful and the resources that they've used and those that have used accountability partners. So we had accountability partner pairing at the conference, knowing that whatever journey you're on, you're going to need someone to make sure that you're accountable and you need to set goals of what you want to do. And then that path came to us having our meetings. You know how I said we started by just having these meetings. We broke people out into different sections, and now you're able to contribute your own thoughts and ideas because there's people at different levels. So you're able to also learn from others, ask your questions, and be able to be in a more close-knit setting where you're also able to take some tangible things that you can implement right away. And then the culminating event was at the end where we had a singer. She was on America's Got Talent. She was a finalist, and her name was Ketchy. And she was in a she was in a plane crash. And today she's the lone survivor. Two people survived, but she's the lone survivor today. And she's been able to do amazing things. Like when I say amazing things, she is one that she's obviously a burn survivor. So she's been able to really be influential and inspirational to others around that. But even those that are just looking to sing and just showing that ultimately, our circumstances are circumstances, but it's what you do that really makes the difference. And not only can she sing phenomenally, but she has such a kind spirit, and she's so inspirational when you listen to her story. So that was the culminating thing, because as people left, they understand that everyone's going through something to some extent. And as long as I'm able to set these goals that I want, but I must put action to it, right? And when I put action to it, that I can ultimately do the things I want to do in life. And people left that conference and from our surveys inspired, motivated, doing action, connected with accountability partners. And now we're looking to do a virtual one in September that's going to be announced very soon. And that's going to have the same type of elements to leave people with that same type of feeling.
Wow, that is powerful. I'm going to have to catch up with, you said Catchy?
Catchy. Yeah, just type in Catchy, America's Got Talent, you'll find it.
Wow. Okay. So now you have your podcast, My Dream Big podcast. I could say we have an idea what that is, but go ahead and share us some of the tidbits, or what's one thing you've learned from podcasting as well, because it's not for the faint at heart.
All right. So we'll start with what's it about, and it's very timely where you can actually you go on our website. We actually created a why did we start My Dream Big Club, and it gives you like the whole background story, right? And if you podcast, you can find that. And the whole reason for the podcast is around, we want to talk to some people that are doing amazing things, right? We all have our stories, right? Sometimes you have to do a little digging and say exactly what my story is. But as we talk to people, there's great advice on, what do you do to really to overcome adversity? How do you go after a goal and you have no excuses, right? So I ask these questions. Some of them are questions that I generally just have, like I'm wondering because, I'm building as well. But then some of the questions is I know through talking to people, through reading, that these are some common things that people have, whether it's being vulnerable, whether it's I want to do this, I don't know where to start, whether it's I'm so focused on making sure everything's perfect before I even make that first step. And that's why I can't make that first step, right? And then you talk to these people who just tell you, just go out and do it. And as you do it, you're going to learn to be vulnerable, because as you're vulnerable, people know how they can help. People know what you need, and you're true to yourself. You're trying to fake the funk, and you're able to, really, accelerate because you're really looking internally. What is it that I need to work on? So our goal is that by the end of each episode, we want people to come out with one or two tangible things to do that they're going to learn, that they're going to implement. And I say 1 to 2 because that's very attainable. Mm-hmm. And from that, and you make these small incremental changes, and you're going to continue to progress. So as you listen to each episode and you're just applying 1 to 2 things, you're continuously, improving. Now, when it comes to the podcast journey, this is very, it connects to the things that we just said, and it connects to My Dream Big Club, because I've wanted to do a podcast for some time, and people have told me, hey, you have this radio voice, whether they're trying to steer me the wrong way or not. I listen to them and I say, hey, let me do something with that. And in the beginning, right, I put it as a goal. I had it. I looked at it every day. It was we call a manifestation board, where you manifest what you want in life. And then for whatever reason, I didn't start yet, right? Oh, what microphone do I get? What about my computer process? Who's going to edit it? What is it going to be about? All those things were in my head. And my wife, being the accountability partner, hey, man, what's up with that podcast, right? And then sooner or later, I get to the stage of, all right, it was the end of 2019. And the first step I did was I paid somebody that was going to help me do like the basic elements of starting a podcast. Whether I did it or not, I was like, before this year ends, right? It's on my board. I'm going to get it started. And I pushed it out. And I tell you, it's been one of the best things I've done, because I hear so many amazing stories. I'm growing as I'm talking to people. And it's a good reminder of just doing it and taking that first step. And as we talk to people, I want that journey for other people, right? And the reason why I tell the story is because in no way am I close to perfect. And, there's certain things too that I'm also battling to improve and continuously improve. And we're not alone in that journey. And the things that you're thinking about are very similar to other people and how they're thinking. And that's that vulnerability portion where, you tell your story, because you never know who you're going to impact. You never know who's going to be able to say, oh, me too. Oh, that happened to him. Okay. I can do this. And we all have this ability to really tap into our fullest potential. Like I wholeheartedly believe that, for whatever reason, whether it's confidence or whether it's our past experiences, we sometimes just need that little nudge, just a little nudge to get going.
Yeah, I love it. I think when I started podcasting in 2014, that was probably 2015, that was the best decision I made that year. And you know how you're learning, you talk to people. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's something about podcasting. It just takes you to another level. And then when you go back, because, obviously we're talking so we're in the moment, but then when you go back and listen and try to edit or, and it's like, wow, it just allows me to resonate. And I know that there was times when I was down and out and I was like, I was supposed to interview this person right now for this moment to get me through. So it's been a game changer for me.
Wow. And right. And like you said, there's moments where you've done episode, you're like, cool. But then when you go back to it, you're like, wow, they were dropping nuggets, right? Because you're in the moment, you need to make sure that they're telling a good story and you're directing them. But then as you reflect back on it, you're like, well, okay, I can listen to this again, like legitimately, and learn from it. I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and then the relationships you're going to make along the way, people all over the world. I encourage anyone and everyone to do a podcast. It's the best thing, personal and professional development.
For sure.
So I know 2020 has been a crazy year, right? And most of my audience is Black men and women in their between the ages of 28 to 35. What words of encouragement would you give to them right now?
Yeah, so it's been an interesting year, to say the least. I think the words of encouragement is, we talked about building community, and I'm very big on how we as Black people can work together and build a stronger community to stay in a place where we are looking for each other's success, right? And what I mean by that is that I can tell you through just my internal network of someone that has great skills in just about any subject matter. And if I can't find that, I can connect with people. So during this time, it's important that we continue the movement and that we are also being very entrepreneurial in the things that we're doing, because we know what our purchasing power is and we know what happens when you come together, right? The power of numbers is something that you cannot change or change the narrative. Like when you have power of numbers, things will always happen. So I believe that you take that, continue the movement. You also take that and find ways to be entrepreneurial. And as we do that, we're able to really, in an unimaginable way, be able to do great things, right? So that's like, if someone has a business, you also, you support them, right? If someone's starting a business, you find ways to make that they're successful, right? If someone is having a hard time with parenting, right, you find ways to give them the right resources to be successful, because all these connect. Right. And I think we all have our challenges, and I think for us, like, let's just come together and look to do the great things that we're born to do. And that community, though, is the most important thing, right? You create that community, you create that supporting system, you create the accountability, you create goals, things will happen. Will always happen.
I love it. How do you define success?
I define success through the one word: happiness, right? I think that just be happy, right? It's not about, you need to have, everyone always goes to the money element, but what good is money if you're not happy? And, that's happiness in my personal and my professional career. So am I doing things that I find gratifying and that I wake up and I'm excited to do, right? As I come home, love my wife to the fact that we don't run away from each other. Like, we're happy to come home. Like, we're happy to be around each other. And that's peace of mind, right? And I say that because everyone doesn't have that, right? And you always have to reflect back and not take it for granted. And a very good exercise for people is just write down things you're grateful for, because there's a lot of things to be grateful for. And then as you do that, you kind of look to see the things that make you happy, the things that you are able to think about, and that you're like, oh, well, my life, I've been able to have these things in my life to be happy and to be grateful.
I love it. Seun, we have My Dream Big Club. How can people find you and what's next?
Yeah, so we're on Instagram, My Dream Big Club. And if you're, obviously subscribe to our podcast, we'll definitely like to connect with you. And then our website, mydreambigclub.com. What's next? Next is that we are all in on supporting aspiring entrepreneurs, people who haven't started, people don't know how to get started. And those that are entrepreneurs, really, really find them the right support to be successful. And that's our mission, and that's what we're going for. And then, the conference when it comes out. So those are the things that are next.
I love it. I will drop those links in the show notes. That way everyone can reach out to you and keep up with the latest information, and definitely check out the podcast. Seun, thank you for being a guest. I really appreciate it.
Michelle, thank you very much. Keep doing what you're doing. Like, you're doing great work, and you're an inspiration to others. And I've had a chance to listen to some of your episodes too. So love the stuff that you're doing, and love the platform that you're creating.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Isn't that a dope name? That's a dope name. My Dream Big Club. Man, that's a great name. Shout out to Seun once again. I hope you were inspired by our conversation. And I know it's a crazy time right now. I know this pandemic's like the biggest variable that is looming over so many people's head. Like, it is what it is, right? But all we can do is the best we can. And we can still dream. We can still find our people. We can find our tribe. We can still work. We can put things in action. I want you to be inspired during this pandemic, because things are still happening, and you can make things happen too. So please visit Seun's website, mydreambigclub.com. Check out the podcast. Has some great stories on there with his guests. And remember, I believe in you. Personal connection leads to an influential network. Thanks for networking with Michelle.